Hello and welcome to the Disney Patrol podcast. My name is Hayden Lyle, and as always, I'm joined right here by Keegan Turner. Today we have a little bit of a controversial one for you. Today we're going to be talking about the cost of a Disney vacation, specifically whether or not we think it is too expensive. I'm sure a lot of you are on board with that. Disney has been getting a little expensive, over the past couple of years, and I certainly see a lot of that in the Disney groups. I've heard a fair amount of complaints myself about the cost of Walt Disney World. So with that being said, we're going to start with you, Keegan, because I think you got a bunch of good facts over there to start us off.
Yeah, so I've done a little research. I've compared today's prices to 10 years ago. So
well, first let's hear your stance on
my stance. Okay, my stance is that yes, it is too expensive.
All right,
and I agree with anyone who's on my side.
Okay,
maybe I guess not about everything, because some things, granted, are people complain a lot about, but I'd say that for the most part, I'm on pretty much the side of it's too expensive.
You think Disney's getting too expensive?
Yes.
All right, let's get into.
So I have a list here of from 2019 to 2010, so roughly 10 years, price difference for a day of each. So a day ticket, the dining plan, and a room, all for a day.
All right.
So I'm gonna start off with 2019 prices, and then 2019 prices for a one-day ticket are $125.
All right.
I think that's even without taxes. I think it's $125.
And that's for any park?
Yes, yep. For 2010, it's $90 a day plus one ticket.
So $35 difference?
Yeah, but I do want to say before I even continue this list that I looked up the dollars amounts from 2019 to 2010, and $1 in 2010 is worth $1.18 now. So the price difference really isn't that much.
Yeah.
It's really not that much of a difference. So we're just talking about Disney inflating prices at this point.
Yeah, I mean...
Now, let's say a day ticket in 2010. You were there way more than I was in 2010. What did we have that we don't have today that you could say is... Because what's your stance?
What do you mean what we didn't have?
What could Disney say
what
that...
Did they
well,
add that makes
yeah, that really
between
makes...
2010 and now, there's... obviously there's Avatar Land, there's Toy Story Land, Star Wars Land.
Yep.
There's all that. I think MGM was still MGM back then. So they lost a sponsor.
Yes, I think you're right about that.
Magic Kingdom has this whole new fantasy. They've definitely added a bunch of
So,
stuff.
listen, I will say this. I will agree that I would pay an extra $35 to go in 2019.
I think it's interesting that you chose 2010 for the year, because 2010 was when Universal opened up the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and that's when Disney was like, oh crap, we have a competitor now, and that's when they started announcing and building all this crazy stuff, to compete with them,
right,
and all that stuff. So I think it's interesting you chose that year.
Yeah, I just chose just about 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's when Disney really started to ramp stuff up. It's interesting. You said there's only an 18-cent difference between the dollar and
correct.
Now. Average minimum wage back then was $7.25
for 2010.
2010, and average minimum wage now is $12.
Is it $12?
Yep.
I'm making 10.
Well, that's not the national average. That doesn't include, inflation and the cost of living and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm sure, it is only an 18-cent difference when you bring, that into account. But I just found that interesting. But my stance on the thing, I don't 100% agree with you. I am more on the side that Disney is not too expensive, and here's why. I think Disney is supposed to be like a crazy, magical, once-in-a-while trip. You're not supposed to be going a couple times a year. It's supposed to be one big trip every couple of years, or, every year if you can afford it. But, it's supposed to be like a big reward for you and your family. You're supposed to save up for it, and that's what makes it so special. If you're going all the time, it's going to lose its value. It's not going to be as...
Right, but then you see these people that are basically going to Disney World for a living.
If you have the money for it, by all means, but Disney was never meant to be like a Six Flags or something like that.
I can agree with that.
It's supposed to be a...
But couldn't you make the argument that yes, it shouldn't be something like Six Flags, but it still could be cheaper for people that just... There's families that just could never go. They will never have the chance because it's so expensive. Couldn't you make that argument?
You could make that argument, but at the same time, if you're looking at it from the Disney point of view, like, they're not targeting the families that can't afford it. They're targeting...
True. It's true.
I mean, Disney World used to be a middle class thing, and now they're kind of almost pricing out the middle class. Now it's almost they're going to the upper class. That 10%, that 1%. But I mean, I'm looking. I mean, I don't agree with this, but like just from a business point of view, like Disney's in the game to make money. At the end of the day, they're trying to make the most money, and they have to go where the money is. And if the middle class isn't going to pay that, then they'll just go to the upper class, which is kind of what they're doing right now. They've got all kinds of like high end. There's special park tours that you can go on now. There's the crazy expensive hotels. There's the guided tours. There's all that stuff that is definitely not aimed at the lower class. It's definitely aimed at the higher class,
right?
For that stuff. You have 2 Bibbidi Boppidi boutiques now. You can have breakfasts with princesses. There's all that stuff.
I don't know. I just can't agree that it's worth every penny. I think it could be cheaper. I mean, I guess worth every penny is the wrong saying. I think when you get there, you spend all that money. It is worth all the money you spent, but I think it could be cheaper. I don't think that they have to make it as much as they are. It's about, for about, let's say, a week vacation, something like that, it's costing you somewhere between 15 and 18, something like that.
That'd be very cheap. I mean, for a family of 4.
Oh, I was talking about me and you.
Oh, for
us two.
For 2 people to stay at a budget resort, no meal plan, park tickets every day for 7 days is somewhere around $18 to $2,000. No special offers or anything.
That's a lot of money.
It is, but like again, like we're looking forward to it. We're saving all the money we can.
Right.
Because it's special. Like if we could just take $100 out of our pocket and go. It would just be, it wouldn't be that. That much of a
I
thing.
didn't even think of that as a stance. That's actually a good point.
It makes it more special. Like when you're a kid and you're saving up all your money to go buy whatever toy it is, you cherish that toy because you had to work hard for it. You had to save up for it. Whereas if you could just go walk in Walmart and throw down $1 and get that toy, it wouldn't be as special for you. Like saving up and looking forward to something, it adds novelty to it. It makes it more special, and I feel like that's what Disney's all about. And if it's just, I mean, I'm not saying like it should cost you'd have to take out a new mortgage to go to Disney World. Like, that's not right, obviously, but like it's supposed to be that way. It's not supposed to be like a just a super accessible thing to do every week.
That's a good point. You definitely raise a good point. So I'm gonna continue on with the 2019 to 2010 list. So a day ticket in 2019 today $125. 2010 is $90. For the dining plan for a day 2019 is $115.
For the deluxe?
No, this is for the normal dining plan.
For an adult?
Yeah, this is for no. It is for the deluxe. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
And then for 2010 it's $75 for the dining plan.
For the deluxe.
Yes.
So what, another $30 difference?
Right. So I think the biggest difference. Oh my god. All right, and we're back. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, but to continue what I was saying, so for the dining plan, for the deluxe plan, it's going to be $116 for today, and 2010 was $75 for the day.
It's like a $30 difference.
Right, same thing as basically the same for the day ticket as well.
So right now for a ticket and dining plan, you're looking at $70 daily.
So the biggest upcharge is for rooms actually. For 2019, it's $150, taxes included. That's all said and done for a budget resort.
Okay.
And for 2010, it's $95, everything included.
$55, $60. So $130 a day difference.
That adds up, dude. That adds up.
That's per person. So I'm not saying that's not substantial.
And that's like I said, an 18-cent difference on the dollar.
Right. That includes cost of living and everything like that. Because the minimum wage has greatly increased since 2010. But I mean, I don't know.
What's your defense?
I mean, I don't know. Like coming from my family is very middle class. Like both my parents, have worked my whole life. They've had to save up for stuff. I had to pay for my own college, so do all my siblings. Like I'm not well off or anything.
Right.
But like Disney was the only vacation we took every year. That was the one vacation we went on, and because of that, we look forward to it. I mean, we collected cans, we collected scrap metal, we saved all our change. we worked hard for it, and because of that, like, we were super excited to go to Disney. That's why we love it now, because we have so many memories there, and we had just had to put all that work in to go, and I think that adds to it.
Yeah, I mean, right. Well, who you guys obviously don't know, but we're neighbors, basically next door. We have one house in between us. All right, we've grown up the same. Our families are
exactly.
basically the
Working
same.
class,
Yeah,
blue collar.
right.
I mean, Disney understands the demographic changes that are like going on. Like they know what's going on with the distribution of wealth and the economic inequality and stuff like that. They know that the money is in the upper 10%. They know that doesn't escape them. They know that.
Yeah.
And they've.
I don't know. I just think it's not. It's just kind of a shitty situation for people that can't afford it.
It is, and like I feel bad, like obviously,
because
like,
you see all these little kids. Every little kid wants to go to Disney World.
Right.
Every one of them.
They definitely like I
just feel bad.
And it isn't fair, but like
it's not fair.
I mean, I don't know. It's tough because I see it from that point of view.
You can see it from both. I'm playing devil's advocate.
But I'm more on the other side that it's not too expensive. It was never meant to be.
Right. It was never meant to be cheap. It's true. Because you're paying diving into a different world. You're paying for that.
Yeah, it's a once in a while experience, and it was never meant to be.
You're paying for this like out of world whole thing. You're not paying to go to, like you said, you're not paying to go to Six Flags. That's cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't feel like it's not magic.
Exactly.
You're not
Six
going
Flags
to see magic
is a nice,
there.
fun day, and by the end of it, you're exhausted and you just want to go home. Disney is not like that.
No.
I mean, you could spend a year in Disney if you wanted to, and every day would be fun and magical.
Yeah, right.
But like one thing I don't agree with that Disney's doing is the dynamic pricing thing. I mean, I understand why they do it because if you're a company operating 365 days a year, you want to be making as much money as possible as you can every day.
So can you explain to them if they're not?
Yeah, if you don't know what the dynamic pricing model is, in simplest terms, basically, they have their prices, and then around the peak summer months and winter holidays, they up the prices. And the reason they do that is they want to try to distribute how many people are there. They basically want to have the same amount of people they have there, say around Christmas time. They want the same amount of people there in March, April. They want to kind of keep it level. They don't want everyone going around the holidays, around those peak summer hours, because, as they're operating 365 days a year, they're not going to be making as much money they would be in those months as they would be in those times. So that's why they give the incentives for the times when they're not peak hours to try to get people to go then instead of the peak times.
I almost feel like it cancels it out almost, that they'll throw in a free dining plan or this and that.
Cancels what out?
That these peak times.
Well, they don't give those during the peak times.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
well, right. They do that to try to get you to go off peak times.
Yeah.
Like peak times, I mean, really, if you want to just go
I
back
feel like I don't know if I can hold them morally, like, that's morally wrong for them, just considering that they will throw in something that can save you, like, $500, $600, $700 on your vacation.
I mean, a free meal plan for a family is, that's like a...
Yeah, again, I keep talking about me and you.
Yeah,
if we're talking about a family, that's a lot of money.
a lot of money.
That's why I think that it's really...
Excuse me.
I don't know. Morally, I don't know if I can say, like, shame on you.
I mean, Disney is the greediest, largest... most corrupt company. I mean, I don't know why the Monopolies Commission hasn't come after them because they own everything. That's besides
probably
because
they own the Monopoly Commission.
Disney is greedy. I'm not. That doesn't escape me. But what I'm saying is, again, I mean, I've said it 100 times already, but it's supposed to be something special. But going back to what we were just talking about, like. Yes, they give you those incentives, but it's not necessarily because they're trying to help you out. They're doing that.
True. That's their own benefit. They like to make you think they're helping you out, but
right. They do that because they're trying to. I mean, also when they give those deals out, hotel prices go up, and
as they say,
they make their money back. Free is never free.
Yeah, that's as they say. Free is never free.
Yeah, exactly. They're making their money somehow.
A free lunch doesn't exist.
Right, but that is a nice little thing to get you there. Once you're there, you're going to pay more for X, Y, and Z, but. That is a nice incentive. But, those peak hours, around Christmas and, stuff is way more expensive. I mean, a budget resort around then one night is going to be $250. That's a $100 increase. They hiked the price up. But, again, those special experiences and stuff like that, those aren't targeted at the lower middle class. Those are targeted at the upper class, that 10%. And
they want that.
Because they know people with money or who have a little more money to spend are going to spend it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because Disney's done like such a great job of branding themselves. Like people who have grown up with Disney, Disney knows that these people are more or less obsessed with their company, and they know that if they have this money,
especially now more than ever, I think. People
I
are
think
like
now because
going crazy.
I think just now, like with social media and everything, it's so much more of a bigger thing.
Yeah.
But I think they've always had fanatical fans.
I think like the '90s and now are some of Disney's like biggest. Because the '90s they had all like the classic animated movies you grew up with, and now they're having the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
They have Marvel, they have Star Wars.
Right.
I mean,
I think as of right now, and around the '90s, that this is some of Disney's biggest times.
I think the people in our parents' age, like like the early adopters, are kind of at like a tipping point. Really, I mean, I know my mom is kind of getting fed up with Disney because of all the corporate crap they're pulling lately. I know she complains about that a lot. She's not really a big fan of all the corporate stuff they've been doing. And I feel like a lot of those people that were around, like kind of in the beginning, especially those that were around, when Walt was alive.
Right. Well, I don't think there's. Roy has passed away, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's much of anything going on.
Yeah,
over
I mean,
there.
I think if Walt were alive today, I don't know necessarily.
I think he's done multiple turnovers and he's doing backflips in his grave right now.
I don't know if
this.
they would necessarily agree with everything that's going on.
I don't think. I mean, you read any quote and he's not about this. He's so not about what's going on, and
I'm not a huge Bob Iger fan, but he did announce that he'd be resigning soon. So maybe we'll see what the new CEO brings. But with that being said, we love you, our listeners. We love doing this podcast.
Yeah, well, Disney needs money, and so do we.
Yeah, but running this isn't free. All this equipment costs money. Getting this out to you guys costs money. And trying to keep our equipment up to date, it's not cheap. The stuff that you're seeing on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, it costs money. So, with that being said, we love you guys for listening because that helps us out. But we also have to bring in sponsors, here and there just to help us with funding all this. So, with that being said, we're going to take a little break and we'll be right back.
This podcast is brought to you by Walt & Co. Walt & Co. creates park-inspired apparel for Disnerds big and small. Their apparel is all hand-printed on only the highest quality of garments, and their customer service is second to none.
As a thank you to our listeners, Walt & Co. would like to offer you 15% off your first order. Just use the code PATROL15 at checkout, and they'll take care of the rest. Walt & Co. Bring the magic right to your front door.
All right, and a big thank you to our sponsors, and we're going to hop right back into the conversation. So we kind of let off and stopped at what we're talking about. What would Walt Disney think about what's going on today and all that kind of stuff.
How Bob Iger's been doing things. And
right.
I mean,
I'm not a huge fan of Bob Iger.
I just think he's a giant, corporate. I'd have some words to say, but we try to keep this little PG around here.
PG-13, I think.
I'm not the biggest fan of Bob Iger, definitely not, and I'll be glad to see who they bring in next. Because I think he's done a lot of, Don't get me wrong, he's done a lot of good things for the Disney Corporation, but I think he's also done a lot of bad things to kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of have diminished the magic, so to speak. So I'll be happy to see him go. I have an interesting question for you.
Okay.
Do you think that if Universal were to drastically drop their prices all of a sudden, do you think Disney would follow suit?
I think they would.
I don't.
You don't think so? You don't think they drop them at all? Or a little bit anyway?
I mean, I think it goes back. Like, if you look at the prices now, Disney's prices are still a good amount above Universal's. And I think...
Let me pull up a Universal
I think that's
day
just
trip
because...
price.
I think that's because they're just targeting two different markets. I think Universal is more accessible than Disney and Walt Disney World is.
One day park is $110 before taxes.
Right, but like if you do the whole package, if you're including the hotels and all that,
right,
a trip to Universal is going to be far less expensive than Disney.
But again, I think at that point you really are getting what you're paying for.
What do you mean?
As in, I think it's very. I don't know. I guess I'm opinionated just because I love Disney, but I don't think that Universal arguably is more
Disney,
bang for your buck.
Disney, you're comparing apples to oranges. Disney World specifically stands on its own when it comes to a resort and stuff like that.
Like I just said, bang for your buck, you're going to Disney World.
They're head and shoulders above everyone else.
Yeah.
When it comes to just what you get for your money, the parks themselves,
right.
I mean, if you look at standing in line and at a Walt Disney World attraction is almost better than any other than going on a ride in other parks.
It's true. Especially, I mean, certain rides have some
You get
ridiculous
a lot.
queues.
I mean, that's another thing. Like, yes, it's expensive, but it's not like anything else. Like, you're not going to see what you see in Disney anywhere else.
Like I'm saying, it's like of another world when you're in there.
And that's down to the last, screw nut and bolt. Like, you just look into a shop, see someone blowing glass or somebody making fudge. That's something you're not going to see anywhere else.
I don't want. Like, I have zero interest to go to Universal. I just don't have the interest.
I've been to Disney World at least 24 times, so I've been in Orlando every time. And never once have I been to a Universal. And
I've never
I think it looks interesting, and I think
it just doesn't do it for me.
One day I'll get there, but I think that when I'm there, the entire time I'm just gonna be thinking, could be in Disney.
Right.
That.
I think the only thing they really have going for them that I would be interested in seeing is like all the new Jurassic World stuff.
I think Jurassic World looks cool. I think the Harry Potter world looks cool.
Yeah, Harry Potter. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan, but not that I don't like it. I just haven't watched it, but I can appreciate it.
Yeah,
objectively, it is really cool.
I'd rather be in Disney.
I agree.
I've
never been like, let's try and plan a day at Universal or something. I would never do that.
I've never met a Disney person who's been converted to a Universal person.
True.
I have met Universal people who have been converted to Disney people. I think Disney just has such a cult following, and they know that, and they fully take advantage of it.
Now that Universal had a big just for something I can think of the top of my head was Simpsons. Universal owned The Simpsons, and now Disney owns The Simpsons.
Yep, because Fox.
Yeah, and I think they had a big Simpsons World and Universal.
They had a big a ride.
Right,
they had to get rid of.
And they had a whole world with it too, whole little town.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I think, like you said, Disney's slowly taking just everything.
I mean, they own way more companies than I even know about. They have such a corner on I mean, they are a monopoly. They are by far the largest company if you include everything that they own. I don't know what the Monopolies Commission's doing. I don't know how much Disney's paying them to leave them alone, but they got a lot going on.
Let's see it. Let's name a few here.
I mean,
ABC, ESPN, Touchstone, Marvel, Lucasfilm, A&E, The History Channel, Lifetime,
Fox,
Pixar, Fox, Hollywood Records, Vice
Pictures.
Media, Core Publishing, all kinds of stuff. They've
got it all. They're doing it all.
It's crazy.
And I don't think that escapes anyone. Everyone knows that Disney's making oodles and boodles of money.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of goes back to in 2018, Disney profited over $4 billion.
Oh my God.
So I guess that's also another why, if they're making so much, why do they need to increase ticket prices?
That seems even almost low. Just Disney
$4 billion.
Disney World or Disney as a corporation?
Hold on.
Because
here we go. That's just Disney Park. That's Disney Parks and Resorts. So
okay.
Disneyland and Disney World combined.
That's disgusting.
Profited. That's $4.5 billion.
Oh my God. I thought you meant the whole thing because
no,
as a whole, I can't even imagine.
I mean, Amazon did $11 billion.
Disney had to have done more.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Owning all that stuff, I just even
it's crazy. I mean, the movies alone probably have done 11.
Right. I mean, how much did Endgame and all that stuff do? Infinity War, a lot of money.
Ridiculous amounts. I mean, it's gross to think about, but that also leads to the question: Disney's making all this money.
Do they really need to upcharge the park that much? No, is my answer.
No, they don't need to. But the thing is, they know they can. They know that if they have the prices,
it's like the same thing with cigarettes. The prices keep going up, and people are still buying them.
They know if they have the prices by $10, people are gonna pay it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I were a businessman, I mean, I'm a business major, and if it were my business and I knew that I could charge more and still have the same amount of customers, I'm doing it 10 times out of 10. I mean, why not?
But I think eventually they're not gonna have the same amount of customers.
Right. Eventually, they're gonna hit that point where people aren't gonna pay it, but then that's where they stop and they bring the price down $10 and they leave it there. That's what they find their little equilibrium point, and then that's where it's gonna stay. And but it's gonna stay there until minimum wage comes up, people start making more, and then.
So in Rhode Island, where we live, it's $10.25 minimum wage.
Yep.
And you said the country's average was 12.
That's average is 12, but that's because you've got states like California paying people $15 to flip burgers.
That's minimum.
Yep. There's a couple states at 15 right now. God. Oh yeah, I mean, you could do a whole different podcast on that.
It's hard. I guess it's easier for them to go to Disneyland than it is for us.
I don't think Disney World's out of reach for. Also, that's another thing I like to make is I don't think a Disney World vacation is out of reach for anybody.
Well, I mean, that's debatable. Obviously, you put yourself in someone else's shoes. Then
this is
obviously,
this is where we're gonna get into politics and things are gonna start getting real messy. But like, I don't know. Like,
it's hard to say that without being in someone's.
The national average income for per person is $33,000. So if you're taking a family of 4, two parents making minimum wage, $66,000. Are you going to go on a really long Disney World vacation to a really nice resort? Probably not. But can you go for a couple days? Sure.
But you also got to factor in like single moms with kids and all that stuff. Like I'm sure they just can't afford it.
Yeah, I mean that's a difficult situation. I mean that's not
I don't.
fun.
I think it's arguable to say that in a perfect world, like I'm sure anyone could muster up the money.
I mean, there's always going to be you can't please anybody. There's always going to be outliers and stuff like that. But I think
I don't know. It's hard to say that.
Right. I mean, I've never been in that situation.
Right.
So
you put yourself in someone's shoes.
It's almost arrogant for me to even talk about.
Yeah.
It, but
if you put yourself in someone else's shoes that can barely get dinner on the table for their family, like obviously they would say there's literally no way they'd ever go.
Exactly. But I mean, I don't think people in that situation are even thinking about.
True.
People who are thinking about going to Disney World, like considering it, I think that those people can afford it. Like,
Yeah, that I can agree with. If you're even thinking about it, seriously thinking about it, you can probably muster up the money to go.
There's probably a way for you to go, but like, people who are, fighting to put food on the table, Disney World's not a thought in their mind.
That's a good way to put it. That if you're seriously considering it, then you can afford it.
Yeah, but people who are considering it, thinking about going, and they're like, oh, it's expensive, yada yada yada. There's ways to cut costs here. Save,
right. Shout out to the blog. Shout out to a different podcast.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good articles.
Yeah.
Good way to save money.
But I mean, you make a good point there. I think that again, like we're both in school, we both work shitty jobs. Like we're mustering up the money.
Yeah,
we both have to buy this podcast stuff, these laptops, all that stuff. Like, but again, we're still coming through. We have car insurance, we have gas, we have all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
at the end of the day, we're still gonna have some money to put away to go to do something else.
I now understand it's different when you have kids to take care of, and all that. But like. I mean, again, if you're thinking about it, you probably have, a little bit of money saved away, and you're probably saving a little bit of money each week. Excuse me. So if you're in that situation, I don't think it's out of reach. I think it's in reach for, when I say majority, I mean,
the majority of people considering it, it's in reach, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So you changing your mind?
Well, I can really stand by your point that it costs so much and it makes it more valuable to the person going.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
I can stand by that.
I'd love to go to Disney World for a 7-day vacation for $100, but then if it's $100, imagine the crowds. Imagine how many people would be there. I mean, it would be miserable.
I think maybe you did change my mind. I think that you put it in that perspective that the cheaper it is, the more people will be there, which good and bad thing. Obviously, I want as much people to experience it as possible, but then when you're there, you're like, I wish it was more expensive.
I mean, Disney, you talked about like, eventually they're going to hit a ticket price where people aren't going to pay. They're almost there right now. I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the wait times or anything for Star Wars Land, but there's almost no wait at all. For the Star Wars Land because they're not offering fast passes, which it's helping out the speed of the lines. But what the heck is the new Star Wars ride?
Rise of Resistance, the one that hasn't come out yet.
No.
What is it? Millennium Falcon.
Whatever that thing's called.
Smuggler's Run.
Smuggler's Run. Thank you. That ride can do 1,500 people an hour, which is around the same that Flight of Passage can. But the difference is.
No one's beaten Ellen. Ellen still got the record.
No, that ride was gigantic. But the ride can do 1,500 people an hour. But the problem they're having is people just aren't paying to go.
It's a shame.
So I think they're kind of getting right around to that price point where people are like, I don't know. I don't know if we can afford this. I don't know if I want to go.
Even me and you, I was almost like I can't go.
Yeah, you had a little bit of a rough patch there,
but again, that can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
My car, I had to do a lot of work to my car, and I had to figure out what to do about that. But again, like we were saying, like we were considering it, but that anything like that can happen to anyone. And it was about the same price as a ticket to Disney to fix my car.
Yeah. I mean, but with that being said, like, you know, you figured it out and you're
Right.
putting money away where you can, and we're still going. So I don't know. I think if you really want to go, you'll find a way to make it happen.
Right.
I
So
mean, unless you have some crazy circumstances going on, which,
Yeah.
you know, I do sympathize with those people. But, you know, for the vast majority of people, I think there are ways to figure it out.
I agree. So I think that we're kind of winding our conversation down. I think I can confidently say I think you changed my mind about the subject. You raised some really good points.
I think if anyone looked at it that way, I mean,
It's hard to look at it that way because you almost just feel like
it feels kind of dirty.
like pompous.
Yeah, it does. It does feel kind of entitled and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, like, you have to look at it from, their perspective. I mean, they are,
Right.
at the end of the day.
They are dirty and they are pompous. So
At the end of the day, they are a business. You know, they're there to make money. So
they're not there to save you money.
you have to look at it from their point of view. And then you have to look at it from the point of view, like, if you are going, do you really want, you know, 100 times more people there?
I agree.
mean, if they lower the prices a ton, it's going to be crazy.
A ton of more people. That's how it works.
Exactly. So, you know, you got to kind of, you know, look at it from both
Both,
angles.
for sure. So, as always, all of our links are down in the description below. We always say this. We're trying to get a live stream going. We're trying to get more conversation with the audience. I think the best way that you could get in touch with us is either through our Instagram DM or the YouTube comment section.
Yeah, or you go to our
Any
blog,
questions?
comment on
You're
our
going to start
posts.
seeing us popping up in Facebook groups. We already got some people sharing our stuff, so hopefully if you're in some groups, you'll start seeing us.
Yeah, and, you know, again, and, you know, he already hit on it, but, you know, we love the questions. We love answering questions here on the show. So if you have any, definitely, you know, message us on Instagram, Facebook, our blog, bottom of this YouTube video. You know, any way you can, whatever works for you.
All the links are below.
And we would love to, you know, answer your question on the next podcast. And as always, you know, thank you for checking in, and we'll see you next time.